Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. It is story. You all know what story time is. I simply tell a story, and you simply tell how the principle, ordinance, and edits of God help you in your journey today, as well as protect you in your journey. And as you tell, pass the story along, how it helps another in their journey. Now remember, all the stories are not original, and all the stories are not my own. This is our story today. There once was a teenage girl by the name of Cherie. Now, the teenage young lady was having a dilemma. Now, her dilemma was driving her into a very strange place. As she set out on the front porch, looking with a very puzzled look upon her face. She was so puzzled, so disturbed, and she was so extremely tired. And she was just covered in just disappointment. She really didn't know what to do or how to do or where to turn. She was just so exhausted of all the things that she was going through and how it was affecting her. And she really didn't understand and didn't know how to decipher the things that was going on within her. She was sitting upon that porch with such a look upon her face of confusion and scratching her head and rubbing her head in such a way that all of her hairdo had just slicked on back as she took her hand and just rubbed it through her hair. She was just in total confusion. You see, Cherie had been through the last 5 or 6 months in total chaos, just total confusion to the point it had driven her to this place where she is right now in her life. She's sitting on the porch, just in total confusion. She's sitting there in daylight where the sun is nice and high in the sky. A nice gentle breeze going across her face. She could hear the birds chirping. She can hear little children playing from a distance. She could hear the swinging of fences going back and forth, back and she can hear cars going up and down the street, all the way on the corner. She can even hear her neighbor's radio as it sets in the window. She could even hear the neighbor on the other side of her TV as she sat there in that old chair. confused as even a tear formed in one of her eyes as she laid back in old grandma's chair. Now her mother come to the door just watching her as Cherie sits in that old chair. Now mama started to come out there, but she just stands there and watch old Cherie as she sits in that old chair. She says not a word. She just sits back in that old chair, big old country rocking chair. Old grandma used to sit in that chair. They inherit that chair. Old grandma lived to be 109 years old. That's the only thing her mother wanted when grandma passed away. You see, old grandma used to sit out on the porch way down in Tennessee. Her mama remembered the days as she watched Cherie sit in the chair when old grandma would they would be down there in the summertime. Her mama was a little girl and old be visiting old grandma. Be down there with her mama, and her mama would have them sitting out there on the porch, her and her sister, you see. And they be mama be snapping them beans, and mama be telling them now, listen, little girls, let me tell you the story of a woman named Ruth. And mama will be telling them the story of a Bible woman by the name of Ruth. And mama snapping them beans. And they would be sitting at the feet of mama as little girls. And mama telling them the story of Ruth. And they would be listening so intently. And mama snapped a bushel of them beans. And when she got through with them beans, she'll reach down there and pick up some of them greens and go to picking them greens as her and her sister helped her mama. Then they would go on inside and help mama wash them. As mama would tell them the story of Ruth. You see, that was mama's favorite story. And mama could tell it so well, too. She remembered when mama would put the food on and take the chicken and cut it up. And then mama would look at her after she finished telling the story. She would look at her and her sister and tell them, you see, you know the greatest thing about Ruth is that Ruth never forgot who she was. Then old mama would tell her the next day about the story of Esther and about Esther's uncle Mordecai. All her and her sister would sit there and listen to mama as she told them stories. And mama would tell them that, you see, old Esther never forgot who she was. And old mama would look at her girls and tell her, young ladies have to figure out who they are. when Mama would take them to church, you see, they would go to church and they would go to Sunday school, and the Sunday school teacher would teach them on the story of Miriam. And they would teach them on the story of Leah and Rachel. They would teach them on the story of Deborah. They would begin to learn about the story of Sarah, and then learn about her after her name was changed to Sarah. You see, when they got home and Mama would ask them, what did the Sunday school teacher teach you? And they would sit and explain to Mama the things that they learned in Sunday school. And they would expound and let them know how it taught them about who they were and how they were, and what direction in life that it was going to take them in. And it always took them back to the simplicity of the gospel, to the fact that it was never going to let them forget who they were. Then Mama would simply tell them, young ladies have to remember who they are, because it's a terrible thing when a woman don't know who they are. She remembers remember her mama sitting in that very same chair that her daughter's sitting in Friday evening, when her and her daddy would be sitting out on the porch having that big mason jar full of Kool-Aid. And they would sit out there. Old daddy was a lightweight little guitar player. And they would all be sitting out there, and Grandma had her chair, and Grandpa had his chair, and her and her sister would sit in the swing, and old Grandpa go to fiddling with that old guitar. And old Grandpa go to fiddling around with it and go to playing. And every now and then he'll strum a few chords, and old Mama would go to bellowing out a few songs. And they would go to smiling as Mama would sing so good that even the crickets would quit making noise just to hear Mama sing. It was a good thing. Then Daddy began to strum on that old guitar, and he would begin to tell a story, so we can always remember who we were. Because she remembered that those stories and those songs and the teaching that our mama gave was the very basic thing that kept them in place through hard times, that kept them together as a family through the rough side of the mountain. She remembered when she was having troubles at the school, that she would remember some of the songs that they used to sing. I am an overcomer. Or there's a storm over there and it's moving this old way. And I'm anchored so it won't blow me away. She remembered the things that Mama used to tell her, that a person that don't know who they are, that don't know their foundation, that the enemy could turn them around and have them return to the same vomit for which they come out of. She remembered those life lessons that Mama had taught her as she looked out the screen door, looking at her own daughter with that so puzzled look upon her face. Her daughter sitting there, so tired and exhausted, so confused, and so heartbroken because her daughter just couldn't get it. Her mama looking and turning around, and there was a picture sitting right there. It was her and her mama when she was about the same age her daughter was. And it was like it was yesterday that she could remember the words her mama would say. Baby, tell your mama what's wrong. So she took her apron off, opened the screen door, and her little girl looked up at her with such a confused and puzzled look as Mama come on out. Mama sat on down in the swing. Her daughter got on up and came over there by Mama. Mama said, baby, tell Mama what's wrong. She looked at her mama and she said, Mama, I've been going to the church and you know, Mama, I accepted the Lord and I've been volunteering on the teen program. I'm a candy striper at the hospital. Mama, I go with you over to the women's shelter, help with the children. She said, Mama, I go with you and Daddy when we go with the church. And we go and just talk to people and stuff. She said, but the teacher gave us an assignment today. And I've been upstairs in my room for the past hour, holding on to a piece of paper. And I just so confused. She said, baby, what you confused about? The teacher told us to write down what we wanted to be when we grow up. Just write about it. She said, okay. She said, Mama, I thought about it. She said, I thought about, I like the fact of working with the little children at the shelter. I like that, Mama. She said, Mama, I even like working at the hospital. I like that, Mama, as a candy striper. She said, Mama, I even like when we all go out together talking to the people about Jesus. I like that, Mama. She said, but I don't know, Mama, what I want to be. Mama sat there, looked at her baby, when her baby looking up at her. She said, baby, I want to tell you a story. She said, a story, Mama? She said, yeah. I want to tell you about a young lady that probably didn't even know what she wanted to be. It's just some situations come across and came up that caused her to be in a situation that presented itself to her. That when it came up, she was ready. And the doors opened and she walked right in. She said, but tell me the story, Mom. She said, I want to tell you a story about a princess who didn't even know that she was going to be a princess. And I want to tell you about her uncle by the name of Mordecai. And she told her the story. And she told it to her the same way her mother told it to her. And they laughed and they talked and they laughed. And at the end of the story, the young lady looked at her mama. She said, I heard that story, Mama. I heard it in Sunday school. I even heard the pastor preach on it. She said, but why you tell it to me, Mama? She said, well, baby. She said, I wanted you to understand that sometimes we might not know at a certain time what we want to be. But I don't think that was your lesson. She said, no, Mama. She said, no. said, okay, Mom, okay. So she went back upstairs and she remembered the words of the teacher. And the teacher simply asked, not who you wanted to be, but who are you? And she sat and she began to write. And when she finished, she brought the papers down to her mother. And her mother smiled and handed the papers back. Now, all the other children in the classroom had to turn their papers in, and the teacher get the papers back. And they had their time to read their papers. One young man told that he wanted to be a fireman. Another young man said he wanted to be an athletic director. Some of the young ladies wanted to be nurses, scientists. When they got to her, the teacher had graded her paper and had put on there great listening with a very tentative explanation. She told that she just wanted to be exactly as she is now, ready and willing to be where God has called her to be, as she's prepared herself to be a tool useful for the Master's call. Now, the moral to the story is real simple. Our ability to realize, to put ourselves in position to be that useful tool for God by preparing ourselves as a student of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And as that tool, as a student, God will open doors that we could not possibly imagine. We can always want to force ourselves into something. But when God opens a door, when we are willing student, there is nothing like it. Who are you? A tool for the Master's use, because he is the potter and you are the clay. Let him mold you into what he wants you to be. Remember, Jesus loves you. He always has, and he always will. This is our story today. Have a blessed day. Bye bye now.